Right, hello, welcome to the Spartan Podcast. Today we have Emily Topping with us. She is the owner and founder of Emerge Elite. She is also a phenomenal photographer and videographer, and she also does online marketing and mentorship for small businesses. So I'll hand it over to you, Emily, and you can introduce yourself a little bit more.
Hi, I am Emily, obviously. Bianca's just told you that. So yeah, I started up my first business in 2016, back end of 2016, but we didn't actually do anything with it until 2017 because I did a lot of things wrong. So that was like as it happens, and to be honest, all of those trials and tribulations that I had with my first two businesses, which was Emerge Elite and the film and photography, all of the things that I got wrong, like filing taxes was a big one, and just general like invoicing and stuff, I've been able to now put into a nice little bundle and ensure that all of my clients don't go down the same road that I did. We've been able to work with such amazing companies, some big, global companies and stuff. It's been an amazing journey up to now. And yeah, so I'm just going to continue doing what I do best.
That's all we can do, mate. So you said obviously you started with Emerge Elite and stuff, and obviously we know each other personally anyway, so we've had this conversation off camera, but I know that you did have some issues with like tax and registering and all that sort of stuff. And to be honest, I had the same kind of questions when I started out because it's not very clear. Like it's so difficult. Like even now with like eclectic media, like on the business side of it, like I've registered as a limited company, but unless you get a registered accountant, it's so like murky waters to sort of navigate. Like tell us about that whole process and what happened and like where you would give advice into how to avoid those those common mistakes.
Basically, don't do what I did. No, a fundamental thing to a business, a foundation to a business is your finances. It is the taxes, it is the invoicing, it's the payment systems, it's everything that goes with that. And when you're beginning, like when I did, I think on my first week of opening Emerge Elite, I only sold 7 t-shirts. So 7 t-shirts at £20 a piece isn't very hard to document. But as you get more and more and more, as it did, I lost track of doing that. And then a great thing that I learned was spreadsheets are king. And just having everything written out. So if you're a sole trader, you can earn $8,000 a month without much tax. I think it's between 10 to 20% to your first million, which is something I didn't know about. But as a sole trader, you need to be very distinctive. So like a photographer or something like that, where, you work on your own. With a limited company, like both of our businesses, obviously it's different. It's corporation tax. It's a different kettle of fish. Now, they figure out the tax for you depending on what year it was. So last year for me, it was 19%. But I always go to the 9 to 5 business model because it usually works the same way. So for your first 49,999, it's 20%. Anything over that is 40%. And what really complicates people is they suddenly say, well, I'm not going to make 50,000 because then I lose 40% straight away. And I'm like, no. It's everything after that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not you suddenly play 40% on everything you've already earned. You go the other way. And basically the things that I did, which was just an immature 23, 24-year-old who just got my taxes in and then just decided not to pay them. And then if you don't pay, funnily enough, if you don't pay them, they charge you extra. So I did this for so long that in my first business year, I only turned over £800 and I spent £550 on fines. So that first year was absolutely terrible.
Flew right off.
Most of my stock to get awareness and, the normal things that we do. But yeah, then I just didn't. I was literally, my mum would be like, you've got a another tax, notification here. You need to sort that out. And I'd be like, yeah, no, it's fine. They say I've got like 90 days. I've
Yeah.
got 90 days. And then before you know it, I like looked at my account and I was like, I owe them £550.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, if when you get your file through, and you normally either get an email or it through the post when you need your corporation tax to be paid, pay it. Just pay it.
Yeah.
Figure out
Pay
how
your
much
fines, kids. Pay your fines.
Yes.
So, like, obviously, you've been in business for a while now. You've got Emerge Elite, you've got your photo, video, and now you're doing mentorship. Sort of take us through your journey of like where you were before you did your first business.
I guess if you go back to being quite young, I always knew that I was going to be different because I really hated school. I really hated it. I was just not academic, and I just couldn't do what all the other kids were doing, which was read something, visually just like clock it into my head and then regurgitate it onto a piece of paper. It just wasn't something that I could do. And I was surrounded by so many people. Like, my two best friends are so freaking smart, like book smart. One of them is not common sense smart, but very much book smart.
I find that a lot.
Yeah. And I found that I was like, well, if I'm going to keep up with these guys, I need to do something different. So even by the age of 12, I was doing a paper round by myself and earning £20 a weekend. And I would drag my dad into it when the roads were icy and I couldn't get on my bike. And he had this, it's like a car/van. And we just opened up the back doors and had the papers in the back, and I'd sit in the boot with the doors open, and every time he'd just stop and I'd be like, go, 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 go. And like, but we came up with that entire business plan ourselves.
Work smarter, harder.
In college, we didn't, people get levers, jumpers and stuff. We didn't have anything like that. So you had levers ones for if it was a bigger class or something, but you didn't have anything that said the course that you were doing. And I thought, well, I was in an equine college at this point, and I was like, sick. I will draw a picture, whatever picture they want of a horse, and put their course on it and their initials on it on the front and back, and sell them.
Nice.
Yes, I did. And I honestly, like, my dorm room, because I was there until I was about 19, was always the place you went for booze. Because I always had it, because I always had money. I was always like selling all these hoodies everywhere and making like 20 quid profit on each one. It was amazing.
Nice.
And then it was like, I went through a period of where I traveled. I think, that was a great thing for me. It made me realize actually that the world is a lot bigger than we think, but small in the concept that we have so much access to it. And Emerge Elite came about because I actually used to have a blog. I don't actually talk about this blog a lot because it was a weird period of my life. And it was when I went from being a quite overweight teenager to borderline anorexic at 22 to then a healthy weight. And it was the whole documentation of the entire process. And it was called Topping of the Cake.
Nice. Play on words. Love it.
Yes. And I remember that when I was borderline anorexic, I went for a really, really horrible mental period of just where I thought I was fat, but I really wasn't fat. Like, it was one of those that no matter how big my six-pack was or how skinny my arms were, and Bianca, my arms are little.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't thin enough. And I remember one day I went back and I was reading all this and seeing people's comments about like how beautiful I was and all this kind of stuff when I was not healthy, made me delete the entire thing. I just got rid of it straight away because I was like, I didn't want to put that energy out in the world anymore, that was okay.
Yeah.
Being unhealthy was okay. Especially once I started to get myself out of that place. And that's where Emerge Elite came from. It was actually brought into view by an ex of mine. She worked for a promotional merchandising company. And she was like, if you want to just mock up some t-shirts, she was like, I can do it, and I can do it for really cheap, because this is what she does day in and day out for like Samsung and everything like that. So I was like, okay. And I was like, and then I was like, what the friggin' hell do I call it? What do I call it? What's it going to be about? And the only thing I could think about was this blog, where I started it because I wanted to help people on my weight loss journey from an obese teenager. And Emergely came about, and it's because my name is Emily Elizabeth Topping, and it was EE, so Emergely.
Nice.
So that's how my first business came about. And then, to be honest, everything's just rolled from there. It's a very big thing, and I know a lot of people out there will think the same, is that when you are an entrepreneur, you really do move with whatever's in front of you. So for me, I didn't want to pay a photographer. I know you were the same on that, because you didn't have the money. When you know your products cost you so much, and you know you're only making £20 a t-shirt, and you know of that you were probably taking home only about £10 of it, and you couldn't afford a photographer, and I couldn't afford a photographer for one t-shirt in 5 colors. You know, I couldn't do it. So my brother is a professional photographer. So I asked him, what camera should I get? What should I do? And I just started doing it myself. And then it was weird, because people were just like, you're actually quite good at this. And I was like, am I?
Well, thank you.
And like, honestly, it's just like snowballed. And I've worked with some of the biggest fitness influencers in the UK. I've traveled around the world working with people. I've even done weddings and stuff. It's been incredible. And then now it led me to where I am now, where I essentially mentor people to not make the same mistakes that I make. But also to show them that it's daunting and it's scary, but you're not alone in it. Like you know, I've been incredibly fortunate to find people like you and like other people that I know that I vibe with on a very personal level. But we also are very strict with each other, where we're kind of like, you need to do this. Like you need to push each other accountable in that direction. And essentially now I just do that for lots of small companies.
Yeah, that's basically what business is, isn't it? Like you have to provide value. And do you know what? I really hate that saying. Like, I think this internet boom has just generated so many would-be entrepreneurs and people that are following the crowd, and all you ever hear is value, value, value. I provide value, I give you value, or you have to provide value to your customers. And it drives me nuts, because it's such an ambiguous statement. Like, what is value to someone? Do you know what I mean? Like, for us, when we started, we were bootstrapping. That's why we got into photography and videography, because we didn't have the money to pay for someone else, like you said. So we bootstrapped it. So me then doing photography for someone else, that's providing value. But in order to get to that point, I had to put in so much work, like to even learn the functions of a camera. But what is value to one is not value to the other. And I'm a big, I don't even know how to say this. Like, I'm really not a fan of just the saying of value, because it's so ambiguous. Like, when we started out, we Googled everything, we YouTubed everything. Like, it was like, we have to figure this out. And for someone to say, oh, provide value, that's like, well, what is that? Like, that, what does that mean? Do you know what I mean? That's why, like, I started this podcast to start with, was to start digging deeper into what is value. Like, what can you do? What are actionable steps that you can follow to start producing the results that you want to produce? Do you know what I mean? Value to one is different to value to the other, but if you can specify it, you can pick which is good for one and which is good for the other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if you do the same with your clients, but a big thing that I do is our first Zoom call, like now, is nothing to do with business, really. It's, I sit down with them, because a lot of people, so I work a lot with online PTs. So I sit down with them, and practically the entire first conversation is getting to know them and getting to know what they value, not what I value, but what they value and what they want to bring to the table. Because I always think that also authenticity is key.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to sell. If you're selling, it's because you sell something you believe in, but you cannot sell to someone that doesn't want to buy. Like, people don't buy from you because you're selling it; they buy because they want to buy it. And the only way that that comes across is passion and knowledge and expertise and stuff, but you also have to make sure that you are a good fit. Like for you, online personal trainers, like, you know, having worked with coaches before, you have to connect with that person. Like, it doesn't just, like, what they're selling, you have to buy into it and you have to buy into them. So yeah,
Yeah.
I take meetings all the time where we have a discussion that is completely irrelevant to the topic at hand, but it just shows if you're a good culture fit for each other to work, because you have to have that ability to have an open relationship to work in order for it to be successful, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think like it's just it's the well, it's the kind of thing at the minute. We know. I mean, I've been from my first, mail delivery service, let's call it. I've been doing this for 17 years without really knowing about it.
Yeah.
I've always been looking at what problems are around me that I can solve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially what I kind of put myself into, which is just kind of like, how can I do something for someone else that doesn't just bring them value, it solves the problem that they've got in front of them.
Yeah. Well, that is business just in general, isn't it? Like, if you don't solve a problem or offer a more effective solution to whatever it is that your ideal client is suffering from, then you have no business.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, I remember being 5, 6, 7 years old, like sitting at a desk that my dad made because he was a carpenter, and like putting my papers down and this and that, and like pretending I'm in an office, because I always knew I wanted to like run a business and own a business. But at the same time, ever since then, I'm like, well, what can I do to help? Like, what am I solving?
Yeah.
Every entrepreneur has been through those businesses where they're like, I had this business, it failed. I had this business, it failed. It's a learning curve, but they usually fail because you're not solving a problem. Like, if people don't need your solution, whether that be clothing or tires or, you know, a mobile phone, which was a completely alien concept at one point, then it's just not going to sell. Like, you have to solve an issue. And I think that's a lot of people start a business because they want to own that business. Like, I want to own a clothing company, which we both have.
Yeah.
But what is, like, they talk about USPs, you know, unique selling point, but what is it? Like, why do people need to buy yours? Like, anyone can buy a t-shirt, but people buy a t-shirt that makes them feel good or makes them feel part of a larger community or comes with perks like a free ebook, or, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not, people get into business for the wrong reason, I think. Some people.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing as like, because entrepreneur has become very popular now, let's say.
I blame
And
Gary V.
but it's like, but people can turn around now and sit there on Instagram and be like, I'm a social influencer, when they're not. I'm a business owner, when they're not actually running a business. They have a business. I'm not going to say that they don't have a business, but they're not running a business.
Well, yeah, you could set up a business for £12 on a company's house, but it doesn't mean you actually run the business.
Yeah, it's like CEO is like, annoys me when everyone's just like, I'm the CEO of this, and I'm like, that's cool. What do you do? And then they're like, well, I do this, and I'm like, okay, so how's that going? And they're like, well, not very well. And I'm like, well, then you're not doing it then, are you?
Yeah, that's the same problem we have like in the agency space as well. Like, it's a lot of people that saying, oh, I have a business, but realistically they're just freelancers. Like, we both know, like, we're incorporated businesses, like, it's taxes, it's paperwork, it's a pain in the ass sometimes, but it has to be done because we are an actual business.
Yeah.
A lot of people just stick founder in their Insta bio and all of a sudden they're a business owner. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And that's true. Like, I mean, I think people forget that, considering that we both have clothing, film and photography, and social media aspects, so mine's more mentoring, yours is agency, we spend most of our time sat at a computer. Like, I don't think people understand actually how much, like, I must look amazing on Instagram sometimes because I do some pretty cool shit.
Yeah.
But then people don't see the other, like, they don't see me at 2 a.m. still sat at my computer trying to get a business plan done to someone that I signed at 7 o'clock that evening. They don't see that process.
Yeah.
They see all the cool things of, like, that's why so when I ruptured my Achilles, I never showed my bank balance to anyone. I didn't think it was necessary. But in that one singular month was when we hit our first 10K month. And I screenshotted it and I put it onto social media, and I was like, I never tell anyone this. And the reason I don't tell anyone this is because I know exactly how you guys are going to respond to it now.
Yeah.
And it's like, you see all the best bits, but I was like, I'll show you what's actually happening right now, which was me stuck in the corner with a moon boot, trying to fit it under a tiny table and type like this, trying to get work done. You know, like, it's just a situation that I was in at that moment. Yeah, it was financially really great, but the other aspects of it was not so great.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I went through the same thing, you know, like I ruptured my patella tendon. And actually, while I was in hospital, my other half bought me a desk to put in my room because I was getting a bad back from sitting on the bed all day. But it was the same thing. Like, I had probably my best financial month, but I'm sitting there with a straight leg that's locked straight because I'm not allowed to bend it, trying to maneuver and like rest it on a ledge underneath the desk while typing, while trying to, you know, have everything in arm's reach because I can't because I can't move to get to it. Like, they're the unglamorous things that people don't see about business. They think that if they put founder in their bio that it makes them a business owner, but actually it's the private victories and it's the marginal gains and it's all of the small stuff, the struggle of trying to maintain a business and keep your head above water while suffering all of the other daily, you know, grinds and problems that you get in everyday life, whether you run a business or not. That's the part that makes you a business owner. Like, I incorporated eclectic media last year. Actually, after I ruptured my patella tendon, I had 4 operations last year. I had 4 infections. I was in and out of hospital 4 times. You know, I spent a week in hospital here, there, and everywhere. Every time I went in, I didn't seem to come out, but I still had to take meetings. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got testimonials from clients saying, I really appreciate the fact that you signed in for a client meeting while sitting in a hospital bed. But these are the bits that people don't get. Like, business is hard. It's not easy. Like, you see all of these people and they're like, oh, it's great, you know, I read 52 books a year and I meditate every day and I do this and I do that. And I'm thinking, I would love to meditate, but one, my brain just doesn't switch off. Like, I've tried it so many times. For me, like, foam rolling and stretching is a form of meditation, but I can't sit there with a guided meditation. It just doesn't work. But like, I'm like, dude, like, you you don't get it. Like, it's not about reading 52 books a year because I don't have time to read 52 books a year because I'm working. Like, I see on your story all the time, like, you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, doing client work before you then go in to do your day job. Like, it's so unsexy. Like, business, you have to love it. You really have to love it.
Yeah, see, like, and that's the thing, and that's where, like, you know, like, you've got your podcast now, I've got my podcast as well, and doing all these sorts of stuff, and it's really weird because until I put it out there, I didn't realize that people were completely unaware of, you know, the things that I actually do and how I think and how I feel about stuff. And it's the way that when you turn around and people are like, oh, Emily, you're so amazing. It's like, because you work so hard. And I'm like, dude, it is not normal to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to sleep at midnight every single day.
No.
It's not normal. And it's not normal to sit at a desk and to work for that extended period of time. I was like, I do not recommend it.
No.
I was like, but this is a situation that I have to be in. Like, we had an amazing year in 2019. We hit 6 figures, a good 6 figures as well, without my day job. And I was nearly to that point where I was like, I'm out. See you later. I'm going to start doing this full time because I can now.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit. And then literally this entire year, all of that hard work and stuff has just been keeping everything going. Because now, because I've grown so much, everything costs so much more.
100%, yeah. Well, your spending then starts meeting your earnings. You like
Yeah,
start living to your means, which is a dangerous game to play. Like I said, like I would probably be more. I was struggling more earning 30,000 a year in a day job than I was, in the middle of being signed off sick for a year because of my knee and earning £1,000 a month just doing bitty like social media jobs here and there because I was living to my means. Once
yeah,
I like paid everything off, it was so much easier and I was actually happier earning less because I wasn't as stressed, worried about where I'm going to pay this bill, got to pay that bill. Like
yeah.
it's so unsexy, like the stress that you have to go through to like actually maintain what it is you're trying to build.
Yeah, I mean, like I had to make a really horrible decision at the beginning of the pandemic, which was literally to take 70% off every single item at Emerge Elite
Mm.
because I had to move out of the warehouse.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford it. I really couldn't. I could not afford. It was, I mean, guaranteed I had mates rates with someone else, but it was still costing me £250 to have like I mean, it was a big space, but like, a wall space and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, screw it. I've got this stock sat in Latvia and America,
Hmm.
waiting to come over to the UK, and I have all of this stuff here. And I was like, and I can't afford the stuff here.
Hmm.
So I have to move it into my house. My house is small anyway.
Hmm.
And I had to make that decision. It was either you pack up and you're done. You
Yeah.
go home and you're done. You just put it into a garage that's going to cost me like 90 quid a month and it's
Hmm.
going to rot away and stuff. Or you just give people clothes, give people clothes. And I remember at one point I went into my gym and I just had like 2 bags of clothes and I just like put them on the table and I was just like, help yourself,
Mm.
go. And it's like, and they were like, why are you doing that? And I was like, because this is the situation that I'm in right now, which
Yeah.
is I only have a limited amount of space in my house for clothing. So
Yeah.
I have to limit what I'm going to put in there.
But then
So,
it's also, I think, a matter of perception as well, because although you are financially losing out handing out free clothing, it then
mhm,
becomes a element of free publicity because you've given someone something, they're wearing it, and it's being put out into the immediate area. People know who you are. It gives you a chance to build relationships with these people, and you then get a stronger buyer base because they know you and your story. And obviously, you've provided value up front, you've given them something for free. Like, although it sucks taking that financial hit, sometimes it really benefits. Like, the actual business becomes a solid brand because of these decisions we have to make.
yeah. I mean, I'm super grateful because I'm in such a fortunate position now that like the business is not doing as well as
Mhm.
we'd like it to be. But honest to God, if I was to go onto my social media and be like, guys, I need people to help me pack,
Mhm.
like I need people to help me pack orders for half an hour, I would have at least 20 to 30 people
Mhm.
that would be like, yeah, cool, Emily, just tell us where you need to be.
Yeah.
And that means a lot more to me than the money.
Yeah.
And like, because money's great, it makes the world goes round. But I went through like a definite like little depression part. Well, I'd say depression, but I just felt shit about myself.
Mhm.
Basically, we don't need to put a label on it. And I was just like, I've worked because I lost like about £45,000 for this in this pandemic of
Mhm.
just like having to sell things and get rid of things and move things and pay things off. I had to pay contractors off and stuff like that because I didn't have any work. I didn't have anything for them to do.
Mhm.
And I had to do all these things. And I was like sat there and I was like, well, it was all for nothing. I've made all this money and I've done all this and
Mhm.
I've made all of these achievements in 4 or 5 years and
Mhm.
now I have nothing. And then I sat there and I remember feeling really sorry for myself and going onto social media and just putting something up. It was something really random. It was just like, a throwback of Emerge Elite and stuff. And the amount of people that were like, oh my God, I remember this day. And then you did
Mm.
the content day in London. And then you did this. And then, oh my God, those t-shirts were sick. And we had this photo shoot. And I was like, you know what? I've actually achieved a lot,
Mhm.
like a lot of stuff. It's just not always monetary.
Yeah, but it's not monetary now, but it
Yeah.
comes back in kind. And that
Mm.
to me is value. Like, we obviously met on social media. Like, for those that obviously aren't aware, like, me and Emily met through Instagram because we're both females, we were both in clothing, we both did photo and video, and we kind of bonded over that because there aren't very many of us out there that does it.
No, there isn't.
No, there really isn't. But we became good friends out of that. And like, you did my YouTube intro before I obviously did my leg. Like, I've taken some photos for you, and obviously I've done a bit of modeling for Emerge Elite as well. Like, that, we've built a solid friendship
Oh,
over Instagram from just providing a little bit of something for each other. Like, because it's so hard to find other business people and other entrepreneurs and people that actually understand the mindset. So we know how much we appreciate it on the other end. Like, how often do you get photos taken of you instead of being on the other end of it? Do you know what I mean? Like, just those little bits really do make a difference. And like you said, if you ever said, shit, this has gone down, I need to get out of the warehouse or whatever, and you message me, you know I'd come and help you, and vice versa.
yeah.
That's because we've built a relationship rather than just looking to make a sale. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I also think that people undervalue the fact that the people that you do surround yourself with have an incredible impact on how you essentially deal with life.
Hmm.
Like, I definitely know, because you and Danny, probably, because as you know Danny,
Yep.
are probably like my two most solid people. Like for business and everything, I'm like, we're the boss ass bitches, like all three of us. And but it is amazing because I met you all through Instagram.
Hmm.
You know, I met both of you through Instagram. Obviously, you don't live that far away from me.
Nope.
Danny, you know, lives in the north. And but I continuously like try and make sure that we see each other, and every win that you have, I'm like, yes, it feels like it's a win for me too. And
Yeah.
I always think as well that a lot of people that are really serious about, you know, starting their own brands and stuff. I've been working with a few individual people recently. I think they worry way too much about the people around them that they value.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, like as I said to you before we got on the call and stuff, it's only someone's limitation of you
Hmm.
from their perception.
Yeah, 100%.
It's their expression of like they think you can't do it.
Yeah.
So that's why they're telling you not to do it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
it's not
it's literally their comprehension of what is possible.
mm. It's like and to be honest, we ain't perfect between both of us. You know, like, I mean, I'm getting the dirty 30 this year, you know, and I
Oh mate,
still
I'm way
allow,
past that.
but I still allow people to have way too much of an opinion of where my life is going, and that is a continuous effort to try and get over.
But
But
that's a social construct that we've all been brought up with, and the people we are the people that fight against that and have the balls to fight against that. There are a lot of people that follow the social conventions because that's what they're told to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially with like business. I don't know if you've ever noticed it in business, but I have seen people make really terrible decisions because they think that's what society wants.
Hmm.
And I'm just kind of like, no, 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 no. You, so it was a thing that I said to someone, and I put it in an email recently, where I was like, out of the billions, may I just like express the billions of people there are in the world,
Mm.
if you were only to convert 1,000 of them for £25 a month, you'd be making 25 grand a month.
Hmm.
And I was like, that is a tiny little percentage. So
Yeah.
why are you going to society?
Hmm.
Because I promise you, whatever you're trying to sell, whatever you're trying to like establish, postnatal, you know, workouts, or, you know, clothing businesses and stuff, if you can just solidify 1,000 people, you are a very, very successful human being.
100%. I'm sure it's like Russell Brunson that says you only need 100 true fans to make a living.
Yeah.
Like, and that is true. Like, if you like you said, there's billions of people in this world. Like, finding 100 people that are interested in what you do is not difficult in this day and age. Like, as long as you know who you are actually servicing and who you are providing value for, or, you know, solving a solution for, whatever you want to call it, and where to find them. And there are many books out there on how to do that. You know, there's so many YouTube channels, Google articles, all that stuff. It is so not hard to find them. It is literally a case of putting the time in to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that comes back to what we were talking about of people just opening businesses because they want to open them. Like, it's great. Like, I could come out tomorrow and be like, right, I've got a fantastic set of blinds that I'm going to start producing, blah, blah, blah. I really like them, put them out into the world. But what if other people don't want them? Or people like blinds, who else likes blinds? Where am I going to find these people? Like, the internet has given us an ability to find these people. We have to, as marketers, as business owners, you know, as just people selling something, like at the very basic level, as people selling something, we need to know where to find them. And that is literally all it takes. In the sea of 8 billion people, and, you know, 1 billion of them on Facebook alone, it's not that hard to find them.
No.
You literally just, the problem with most businesses, I find, and usually with the businesses that I work with, is them narrowing down who it is they're actually looking for.
Yeah, that's spot on. Like, that's what I find.
Yeah, it's not my job to find out who you're looking for. This is your business. You should know your figures. You should know all of your numbers, all your metrics, and you should know who you're targeting at the very basic level of business. Because once you know that, I can tell you where to find them. It's not going to be hard. Everyone's congregating on the internet in one way, shape, or another. You need to know that. As a business owner, you need to find out who you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And then that's where, like, well, in a way, it makes our job a little bit easier when we find that out, because then we can actually spend the time and the effort narrowing down, or niching, because that's the popular word to say.
Honestly, hate that too. I think I have a problem with just like social conventions of traditional sayings.
Yeah, I know. It's like, but then that's essentially what our job comes down to. And then it's also being able to understand the analytics and understand the demographics and stuff like that.
But that's the technical
it's a minefield.
But that's what we're here for. Like, but just business in general, it's a very basic level. Like, before there was the internet and all of that stuff, like, you still had to know this stuff when you opened a brick and mortar shop.
Yeah.
It's not changed, it's just been amplified now with the internet.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. 100%.
And I think, like, there are so many resources now for people as well. Like, I'm an avid reader, you're an avid reader. I tell you what, the one thing that does annoy me though is when people say, I've read 52 books this year, and then they've said they've done audiobooks. I'm like, you have not read those. That does not count.
Okay,
and I know you do audiobooks, but it still does not count. You have listened to 52 books, you have not read them.
Which, you know what, after our last conversation regarding that, because I remember when I actually said that to you, and I said that I'd read so many books and they've all been audibles, and I actually started reading more. I have a collection of books now and stuff. You know, I sent you books and everything of ones that resonated with me, and no joke, they have more of an impact because I actually have to use kind of like my entire body to read it, instead of just driving in the car and then being like, you know, someone would like cut me off and I'm like, meep, meep.
Yeah.
And then I missed
the
that
paragraph. Yeah.
So, you know, like, I really understand it, but you know, everyone's looking for the easy way out though.
Yeah. Like, I mean, everything has to be time efficient now, doesn't it? Like, we're all like struggling to find time to fit things in. But I just think there's something so like fundamental with reading, like actually reading. Especially like for me, I majority only read maybe minimum 10 pages a night before I go to bed, in bed. because it also gives me a chance to relax and settle down, get all of the electronics and stuff out of my life, and I can actually focus on what I'm doing. I'll be the first to put my hands up and say I am a terrible multitasker. Like, I have to focus.
Yeah.
Even if I have multiple things on at the go, at the time, I need to set aside an hour to do this, and then I do something else. As soon as I start multitasking, it just doesn't sink in with me. So for me, reading really is a time for me to take in that information.
Yeah.
Audiobooks are just one, if the person's voice, if I can't get on with it, it just doesn't sink in. When they're talking, I'll switch off and my mind will be thinking about something else. Like, it just doesn't have that same thing for me. And it's the same with the Kindle. Love the concept, hate the execution. I just can't get on with it. Like, I have to have a physical book in front of me.
Yeah, it feels a bit weird, doesn't it, when you're just kind of doing that?
Yeah. Or
that.
Yeah.
Like my dad's got my old one, and he honestly, he read like a whole book in one evening in front of me, and it's just,
yeah.
And I'm sat there with my book. Like, I was reading this book called Attached,
Mm-hmm.
and I was reading it, and I'm just like looking over at him like, what are you doing?
But it doesn't feel like, it's not the same. Like, you don't, for me anyways, I don't get the same connection with a book on Kindle or Kindle app or anything like that. If it's on an electronic device, it just doesn't go in. Like, I'm very much a very old fashioned person. I need to have paper and pens to make notes. Like, I have notebooks coming out my ears. Like, every bit of information I've ever learned is in a notebook somewhere in my room or in my house. Like, that's just how I am. And even if I never go back to it, like, the people that highlight in actual books, honestly, it breaks my heart. Can't have it. All my books look like they're pristine in a bookshop. I have that connection with books. Like, it's always been a thing for me as a kid. But it's such, like, everyone, like, we're both aware of, like, Iman, and he reads, a book a week, and everyone's like, I'm going to do that, and it's so great. And sometimes I feel like people are reading for the sake of reading and not consuming the information.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Like, also a quick question on that one, because I've only really started reading.
Real life reading.
I did audiobooks for ages, but I mean, that before my current job, I worked as an equine vet nurse. So I was always on the go, bandaging and stuff, and I'd have an audiobook in my ear the entire time. So I think it was something crazy like 116 books in like a year.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm amazing. And then you'd be like, well, what was that book about? And I was like, no idea. But I found now that from actually reading, my speech has got better, my punctuation has got better, my grammar has got better, and my writing has got better. Yeah. And this is coming from a self-published author. Like, I've written my own crap. But reading, physically sitting down, whether I do the same as you, I read before bed. But like, sometimes I even just sit here at my desk and I'm like, okay, cool, I need to have a break from the computer. And I'll read like 10 pages, and then it just clicks my mind into a more, I don't know, functional way. Because I'm so on the go. I'm very much kind of like a, grab the I mean, I've got 2 cameras in front of me right now. And grab a camera and I'm like, hey guys.
Yeah.
That's how I am. I'm not very, typey.
Yeah, see, that's where we are different, because you are very front facing and I'm not. Like, doing videos on Instagram, I know I need to get better at it, but it's really just not my thing. I don't know. I feel very self-conscious. And I was like that actually when I started YouTube. I did get better. The more I did it, the more comfortable I got doing it and doing it in public, which is funny because, we always say that with everything. The more you do it, the better you get at it. But it is a very self-conscious thing. And especially because I think my original Instagram started out as a personal Instagram. It wasn't business related because very few people knew what I did. The minute that I then turned it into more of a business type Instagram, funny enough, the engagement dropped because people just don't like to see you winning, I guess. I don't know, like they don't understand it, so they don't engage in it. And I get that, but it's also a very vulnerable place to put yourself. Like
Yeah.
you are very good with it. You do obviously like your throat punch Fridays, and you're always on there taking questions and stuff. Like it's just for me, I just don't feel as comfortable in front of the camera as you.
Yeah, but see, this is why we're very different, because I am very happy to talk to people for a
Yeah.
long time, as we're both aware.
Yeah.
Um, but writing, I really don't like it. I
Oh,
don't like
I love
writing. And
writing.
I have 4 books out now.
Hmm.
And it's like, and I've written all of them myself. I didn't get someone else to write it for me. But they were the hardest things that I have done, because
Hmm.
whereas you can articulate yourself better through words,
Yeah.
I'm very happy to stick a camera in my face and just be like, hey guys, what's going on?
It's
Ask
very
me
off the
whatever you
cuff though.
want.
It's like it's very real, and I think that's why your Instagram has grown the way it has, is because it is relatable. Like it's just, I was thinking about this, just want to talk about it. Do you know what I mean?
A crazy thing from last night, literally last night, I did a Q&A,
Hmm.
and someone asked me, like, how's the last 6 months been for you, good and bad? And I went super into it, and I was just like, it's been terrible. Like, my
Yeah.
mental depreciation over the last 6 months has been awful. Like, we've both been through some pretty awful injuries and stuff, and pandemic doesn't help, and I was honest, and I actually answered it honestly, and I was just like, this is what's happening, and this is how I feel about it. And it's like, I'm not going to sit here and cry to you about it, but I am going to tell you that I'm still working on it. And
Honesty,
the
isn't it?
the guy who asked me that question was like, dude, wow, I didn't actually expect you to have that answer. Like,
Yeah.
I expected you to be like, it's all good, you know. And then I was just reply to him, and I was like, well, this is what you get. You
Hmm.
don't get beating around the bush. You don't get beating around the bush with me. Like, if I don't feel good, I'm not the best at talking about my feelings and stuff, but if I don't feel good, I'll let you know about it.
Yeah. But that's good though. That's what I said. And I think that social media lacks that authenticity sometimes. Like, we've both been in the agency space. I know you had an agency for a while. Um, and you know yourself, like living in that world is it's very humbling, because at one point you think, oh, I'm really not performing at my best because this person's showing me they're in Dubai earning £50,000 a month, blah blah blah, and actually that might be their one best month for the entire business, but it's
Yeah.
still a highlight reel, and we don't see the failures. And I think people relate more to the people that actually hold their hands up and go, do you know what, I tried, didn't actually succeed the way I thought it would, learnt this, I'm going to try again. People
Yeah.
appreciate that. Whereas, it's great to admire people from afar, but do any of us really believe it? Like, how many times have you seen an influencer like, oh, living life in Dubai, I've got this and I've got that, and we're at the fanciest hotel in Dubai, and you're like, but what do you do? Like, what is your business? Apart from having an OnlyFans, like, what is it that you do? Do you know what I mean? And like, it's so superficial, it drives me nuts. But I think, like, on a level where we're at, like, obviously you've got like nearly 3.5k followers on Instagram, I've got nearly 2. Like, people relate to you when you are being honest, and actually you'll probably get your most engagement from having a small following, but a concentrated following of people who connect with you for being real.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And it was like, I went down the same route as like these people in Dubai, and traveling across the world. I did the exact same thing. I would only ever show the good things in my life,
Hmm.
and that was great for a while. And then I think it was like one time, oh, it was through a breakup. Oh yeah, that was the best thing. um it was through a breakup where I was literally trying to explain how I felt about things when I wasn't really in the room at the same time. And I'm trying to make it sound out like it was amazing.
Mm.
And then people were just like, are you good? And
Mm.
then I was like, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm not great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest about it, and I'm going to tell you about it. And I started telling people about my story, about like my anorexia, about like my depression and things like that. And that's my audience. And the amazing thing is that people are like, wow, guess what? Emily's a human being. And
Mm.
I'm just like, "Ah, funny that." But
Yeah,
that's my
finally
thing.
we're
Because
all the same.
I don't like to bullshit people. Like I've never liked it, and I played that card for a
Yeah.
while because that's what society told me to do. So I did, but now I don't, and that's why people get sometimes a little bit like they kind of like shy away a little bit because they're like, dude, I didn't expect that response, and I'm like, well, you asked the question.
Well, yeah, and that's it. And all we can do is be honest. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we've discussed before, like you just can't hide away from it. We're all human. Just because we're business owners or just because we're in the public eye, like God, we're not, Love Island level, but
Oh, I
but,
hope not.
oh, mate. But we are putting ourselves out there on a public platform. Like, it doesn't mean that we don't go through things that everyone else goes through. Do you know what I mean? Like, every life has ups and downs, businesses have ups and downs. Do you know what I mean? Like, even like we both played sports have ups and downs. Do you know what I mean? Like, for people to pretend that everything is fine all of the time is so unrealistic, and it creates a false expectation, which is part of the problem that we have on social media. Like, social media is our job, like that's what we do.
Yep.
But the detriment that it has to people's mental health based on this false perception is incredible.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and that's why I like using the platform the way that I use it now. Because I'm actually showing people that you not knowing where you want to go with your business, where you don't really know the steps that you need to take, is actually really normal.
Yeah.
And then there are people like me and you out there that are essentially, we've been through it, we've done it, we've
We
walked
figured
that
it
road.
out.
Yeah, and we can help you get to the next step. But we're not sitting there going like, look at my new Mercedes. Like, we're not doing
Yeah.
shit like that. We're actually sitting there and going, no. We're going to figure out who you are, what you want to bring to the table, what you value in your business. And I'm going to help you by step the steps that I fucked up.
Yeah. But that's the same with people that want to start their own business. Like, it's okay to show that everything isn't okay all of the time. Like, majority of my posts over the last year have been about my leg, but that was something that I went through and still managed to maintain my business with. I think that we need more of that to show that actually it's okay to have problems. Like, it's not always going to be, sunshine and rainbows, but you can maintain throughout that. Do you know what I mean? And these are the things that help me. Like, even when I was doing my fitness journey with YouTube and I did summer shredding and all of that sort of stuff, that was all it ever was. It wasn't I'm an expert. It was, this is what's worked for me. If it helps you, great. If it doesn't, you know that it doesn't, or you've tried it and you take it and you discard it. That's what life is. Like, you have to figure it out as you go along. None of us had a blueprint. None of us, like, I mean, you can get courses and stuff now, but even there are exceptions to the rule in those. What one person says works, another one says doesn't. Like, you have to take what applies to you and put it into action, or take it, accept it for what it is and say, well, this doesn't work for me, but I'm going to accept this other part that does work for me. Like, it's literally a jigsaw and just figuring it out. And I think that's what business is missing. Like I said, this is why I started the podcast, was because I wanted people to understand that it's okay to not know your direction or not know where your next step's coming from. It is sometimes literally taking a leap of faith. And sometimes you're going to hit the floor, but other times you might sprout wings and you're going to go somewhere. It is literally just taking the decision to say, I'm going to do it and come what may.
Yeah, which is awesome. And like, and you are a fine example of that. Like, honestly, that, like, well, to be honest, over the last like 12, 18 months, the shit that you've been through, like, it's been amazing to watch you go through that, as not just someone who's bothered about your businesses, but as your friend. Like, it's been amazing to see you go through all the trials and tribulations and be texting you and you be like, I'm back in hospital again, and I'm like, I'm literally sat at home like, fuck, what do I do? Like, I can't make this any better. Which is a fundamental quality that I have, which is just like, I always want to make everything better. But you freaking, you owned it.
Well, I mean, like, Jess, like my other half, she only said to me, I think maybe 4 weeks ago, she said to me, when you were going through all of your operations and your infections and all that stuff, she said, I never told you at the time, but I thought you were going to die. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, hang on a minute. I was like, where did this come from? Like, what? You thought I was going to die? She was like, you had sepsis. Like, there was a very big possibility that you were going to die. Like,
Yeah.
your leg exploded in the middle of A&E. You had a 6 centimeter infection into your kneecap, like into the socket of your knee. She said, like, at the very least, I thought you were going to lose your leg. And I was like, and I said this to my other friends, like, we went for a socially distanced walk the other day. And she was like, they were like, oh yeah, we thought, like, easy you were going to lose your leg. And I was like, where is all this come from? I was like, why did no one tell me at the time they thought I was going to lose my leg or die? She's like, well, it's just not the sort of thing you say to someone, is it? And I was like, I said, do you know what? In all honesty, it never crossed my mind that anything, like, it was ever going to be anything but okay. Like, I know it was going to be hard, and I know, like, I had my down times where I knew things were never going to be the same, but it never crossed my mind that I was going to be permanently disabled, or, I was going to die or anything like that. I just kind of got on with it. And I think that in our like arena, in our sphere, that's just built into us. Like, with business, you literally take the leap of faith and you go, I'm going to sink or swim here, and it's fine whatever happens, because I'm going to learn from it, or something good is going to come from it, and then we'll move on. Like, you can't take each knock and go, oh, I'm just going to stop now because it didn't work out that time, because you're just never going to get anywhere. And, like, when, like, all of, like, my leg and stuff settled down, I was actually proud of myself that had never crossed my mind, because it just shows the mental fortitude that I have now that I maybe didn't have 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's only when something really drastic like that happens and you look back on it and go, actually, I am proud of myself. Like, yeah, I'm still not walking downstairs like a normal human being at 33, but I'm walking and I still have my leg. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's completely different. Like, you have to have that mentality of, right, it is what it is. It's happened. So what am I going to do about it? Like, where do I go from here? You can't go back. You can understand it, or you can look at it and go, oh, maybe I should have charged that client more, or maybe I shouldn't have taken on that client, or, anything like that. But then you go, right, well, it's happened now. It is what it is. So where do we go from here?
It's like, I've never seen comfortable people grow,
Mm-mm.
ever. Normally, 9 times out of 10, you have to either put yourself in an uncomfortable position or be in an uncomfortable position in order to grow.
Yeah.
And that is normal. And that is, you did a similar thing that, I did. Like, when I ruptured my Achilles, I had quite a lot of responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
and which financial responsibilities. And just because I couldn't go to work, I still had to learn how to do stuff outside of work. And I made more money than I ever have made before in that one singular month. But also, like, and that's where, like, I really, like, I am proud of you so much, because you did the same thing. Like, because I was never going to turn around to you and be like, what you've got is serious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was never going to do that, because as a business owner to a business owner, that's not what you want to hear, and it's not what you need to hear. You don't need to hear that. You need to have basically reality put in front of you, but a reality that you can dictate, which was, you knew that your leg wasn't a great thing. You knew what happened wasn't brilliant, but you used that situation and you grew from it, and that's incredible. That's the best thing that you can do.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, like, it is what it is. Like, it's same with you and your Achilles. You hadn't played football for God knows how long. Come back for maybe 2-3 games and did that. Like, and they said to you you'd never run again, but you're out running for fun, which I still don't understand, by the way.
Well, you get told you can't do it, then suddenly when you can do it, you go running.
Honestly, I do understand that aspect. Like, I've never wanted to ride a bike in my life, and then like I think it was 2 months out of my last surgery, I was on my sister's bike trying to get to the end of my estate. Like, I can do this. And I was like, why am I doing this? But it was just to prove to yourself that you can, and you start to appreciate the things that you never thought you would appreciate. You know, I'm not saying I didn't have my depressive times. I mean, my other half would probably tell you that I had quite a few depressive times where I was like, oh, it's never going to be the same again, and maybe it's not, but it doesn't mean it can't be something good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I'm proud of myself that I have that mentality. And, I didn't have a good bed routine. I didn't have a good morning routine. I didn't work certain hours because I was concentrating on surviving to the point where I was like, okay, I can keep this ticking over until I'm ready to reattack it. But, now I have to be reminded of how far I've actually come because I'm still impatient. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to do it. I want to do it. And I'm gonna do it. And if I fail, then I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do it again. And I think that's the kind of fortitude you need to survive in business, no matter what business it is.
Yeah. Oh no, I totally agree. I totally agree with everything that you said.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But like now, I mean, I still struggle to find a morning routine that works for me. Like, because same as you, I love the gym, and if I go to the gym, it's usually for 3 hours because it's half an hour before I even make it into the gym after talking to everyone. I
Yeah.
work out for 2 hours and another half an hour on the way out. I can't do that in the morning because by the time I actually get to my desk, it's midday, and I'm like, oh, I've missed out on a whole morning's worth of work. So I'm still struggling to find like a morning routine that works for me. Like, and obviously, I know you like work a day job, but like, what does your normal sort of daily routine look like?
Slightly psychotic. I wake up at between like 4:45 to 5 a.m. And then I get up, and the first thing that I do is coffee. I have to have my coffee. I can't stand not having a coffee.
Yeah.
And then from 5 a.m. until like about 6:30, I work at my desk. And that's usually that time is where I'm answering emails, checking up on people from the night before, because I turn my phone off at 9 o'clock. Like, no one can get me from 9 o'clock. I don't accept anything. Like, the only numbers that can get through is my mum and my dad if it's an emergency.
Yeah.
So I do all that kind of stuff, kind of get the day ready, make sure that everything's scheduled for clients in the day. Then I go work my day job. That's from when I leave my house from 6:30 until 5 p.m. when I get back in. 5 until 6 is when I like to like make food, kind of have a shower, chill out. And then pretty much it depends what I've got going on. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are always really busy for me. That is usually where I book calls in.
Mm-hmm.
So and I do that.
Mm-hmm.
I try and work out as much as lockdown workouts are going. But I can literally sit at my desk from about 6:30 until midnight and continue working. And also, I'm a big gamer. I really like my video games. So I categorically...
Did you manage to get hold of a PS5?
I did.
Oh, so jealous. So jealous. How is it?
It's amazing. It's right next to me. But then on Friday nights, I categorically from 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. is gamer night.
Yeah.
And I get all the boys on, and we just play like Warzone and shit and chat shit and drink beer, and like that's what we do. But I have done that. To be honest, I only stopped doing it for about the last 8 months, but things have recently changed, as you know. And I'm getting that routine back that I had before, which was kind of like, because sometimes I could do my work at 5 a.m. and finish at 5:30, and then on my lunch break at work I also work. I sit in my car with my laptop.
You're in your car, yep.
Yeah, so I do that, and sometimes I can get home and I have no work to do. So then I go for a run, or I play some more video games, or I read a bit more, or I just chill out. I put a face mask on and all this kind of, like I do all those
Yeah.
sorts of things. But I function a lot better in the morning. So
Yeah,
like so from 5 a.m.
mm-hmm.
until about 3 p.m. is my like I am the best.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the evening is a bit of a struggle, and that's why I like to go to the gym instead, because that kind of like is my kind of mental space where I can lift iron and get gain, and do all that kind of stuff, which we're not doing at the minute.
I miss it so bad.
Yeah, but I am usually in bed asleep by 9:20.
See, I used to be like that. When I was working a day job, because I was the same as you, I'd be up at 5, and I would leave for my day job at 6, because I worked at Heathrow, so it took me an hour to get there. I was in bed by 9:30, usually asleep by 10, 7 hours. I was in a really good routine. As soon as I started, obviously lockdown and then hospitals and working for myself and all that, my routine went right out the window. Because like in hospital, they wake you up at like 5:30, and I'm like, dude, how am I supposed to get rest and recover when you're waking me up at 5 o'clock in the morning? And to be fair, when I had sepsis, they were waking me up every hour to do my ops, which is again not conducive to a relaxing, recovering environment. So like, because I was in hospital, I think I had 4 operations in 5 months. So that was what, nearly every month. Like my sleep pattern went out the window. Like I didn't have any kind of routine, like, because I didn't know what was coming from one day to the next. I remember we went down to see my partner's mum in Lowestoft, there near Norwich at the coast. And a couple of days later, I'm being taken to the hospital. Then I had a photo shoot in Essex, and I had to drive back to Lowestoft. Then I got diagnosed with sepsis, and I had to have my knee done. Then they sent me home, and this is all in the middle of lockdown. So it's just like, what the hell is going on anyways? No one's working. Everything's all up in the air. And like literally, like for like every 6 weeks, my routine changed. I just couldn't get to grips with it.
Yeah.
And then you had like gyms closed, gyms open, gyms closed. And for me, as you know, rehab was a big thing for me. I just couldn't nail it down. So then like the mornings became really sort of up in the air, because I was sleeping quite late till like maybe 10, 11. But then I would work really late till like 11, 12. Because my brain was like, once I got out of that funk of, oh, I'm sick, my brain started kicking in. It was like full steam ahead. It just didn't stop. So now I'm kind of like, I can go to bed late. I try and bring it forward to maybe 10, half 10, but I'm still struggling to find that balance of where like my working day is. Because like, I mean, I know, you know, but once your mind starts going, there's no stopping it, and you don't want to stop it, because all these amazing ideas and thoughts and stuff start coming. So for me, I started keeping a journal. So every day, like it's a business journal. I'll start thinking about systems, automations, delegations, all of my staff, like all of my team members. I don't like to call them staff, like team members. How I want the things to function and how they fit together, because I can quickly write it down and then switch off because I get it out. I have to.
Same with me. Like I normally want to be in bed by 9, but then there are periods of, if someone needs something doing, then I'll stay up until midnight to get it done.
Yeah, see, that's my problem. I got to learn to say no, though. Like, you have to have working hours. Like, don't get me wrong, you should work really hard. But if a request comes in at 11 o'clock at night, you're like, I'm like, I want to.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, this is only if it's like, it's a workload that I know that needs to get done.
Yeah.
And I have a set period of time to get it done, which usually I normally have one of those evenings. So I work until midnight, but then I'll give myself like Saturday morning off.
Yeah. You have to really like balance it out, because although we are there to service people and our business is a service-based business, it is still a business, and we need to have that sort of separation. Like, Jess tells me off all the time. She's like, you need to have a time to switch off, because otherwise you're never going to switch off, and then
Yeah.
you're going to burn out, which is what
Yeah.
I don't want. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have
I
to
have
have
personally gone through that. Do not do it. It's not fun.
no, exactly, and that's it. Like, you just, I want to help people, and I'm a people pleaser in terms of like the value that I provide and the service I provide. I'm proud of it, but I need to remember that actually I am still a business,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't expect to text my client at 11 o'clock at night asking for assets and
Yeah.
then for them to respond. Do you know what I mean? Which is why everything for like now needs to go through Slack, like no email, no text, no WhatsApps, all of that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
because I need to remember that actually I do have a life outside of work. Although I love my work, it has, like, you have to have that balance. Like,
Yeah.
and when we all know, like everyone says, Gary V, you gotta eat shit and you've gotta work hard and work, do what you've got to do to get it off the ground. Yeah, but you also have to protect yourself and your mental health and your ability to provide the service that you're saying you're going to provide, which you won't do if you burn out.
Yeah, if you burn out, it's pointless. The
Mhm.
whole process was pointless. Like,
Yeah.
I've been there and I've done it.
Hmm.
And you just spend the next 2 to 3 months piecing yourself back together
Hmm.
to function like a normal human being,
Yeah.
and you lose your clients in the entire process because you can't give them a service,
Exactly.
because you're not in a fit state to give them a service.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's because you that's why my phone shuts off at 9 o'clock. It's even automated. I don't even touch it. And it's like, that's why it goes off at 9 o'clock. It's why I make sure that I have a little timer that goes off for my reading time. It
Yeah.
makes sure that I take, like, even the weird things, like I even take my supplements a day.
Hmm.
It just, like, it reminds me that I need to do stuff for me
Yeah. For you.
to ensure that I am bringing my best self to my clients.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is what I try and explain to my clients as well. Like, I don't want to bring half of me to the service because I'm not doing them any justice and I'm not doing myself any justice. Like, you're never going to get someone who cares about your business as much as you, but we are the people that come close because we're invested in their business. Like, as advertisers, if
Yeah.
they don't succeed, we don't succeed because we're not providing what we're saying we're providing. So we're as close as it's going to get. So for me to then provide half of myself and half of my capabilities and half of my concentration because I was up till 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night dealing with a late night request, it's going to have a knock-on effect. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have to protect myself and corner myself to say, right, well, come 6 o'clock, only emergencies in terms of like, fuck, the ad campaign has been banned or the ad account's been banned or whatever. Then I'll be like, okay, it's an emergency. Do you know what I mean? We need to deal with this now. But other than that, like, it can wait till tomorrow. It's only 12 hours maximum. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to give yourself the best of yourself to your clients, and you can only do that by looking after yourself.
Yeah. And also, it's like going through the distinction of making sure that you're productive and not busy.
Yeah.
Because that was the worst thing that I did. That's how I burnt myself out, is I was always busy.
Yeah.
Not, but then it was always doing things like, I'm going to organize the folders on my laptop at 3 a.m. Who the fuck does that?
Yeah, not me, not gonna lie.
Exactly. And that's where I got into. I felt like I needed to work the entire time, that I was not actually producing anything. I was just busy.
Yeah. I mean, we can all be busy, like there are always things to do, but if they're not moving the needle forward, then they can wait. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they can wait, and you can get a full 7-8 hours sleep, because it will not go anywhere and it is not detrimental to your business.
Exactly.
So you need prioritizing. That's probably the best word for it. Like, you need to be able to prioritize. Like, you know that client needs that doing and that client needs that doing, and you might need to put this stuff on Instagram and get that testimonial through.
But
Those are
as
your
a business owner, you need to make that definition and that distinction. Like, as a business owner, I know when I started out, I was like, everything's important. Everything is number one priority. But what I actually found was if everything's number one priority, nothing is a priority because they're all the same. So really you need to be able, like, be okay with saying, no, it can wait.
Yeah, it's the same. Like, I mean, like, I do social media, but I've just taken 6 weeks off from social media. And I'm going to say this as lightly as possible, but like, no one missed me. It was not a priority. And I've got all my posts scheduled for this week now and everything like that. And I'll just go straight back into normal.
Yeah.
But people, like, to some people, that's a priority. To me, that's not a priority because my personal brand is already established. Like, I disappeared for 6 weeks and I came back and people were like, oh, did you have a nice Christmas then?
Yeah. And it's also
like I didn't go anywhere.
Service you provide. Like, it doesn't affect your ability to provide the service to your clients, whether you're visible on social media.
Yeah.
Right. So we've been going for a hell of a long time now. So
yeah.
I'm going to wrap this up because otherwise we'll be here for 4 hours. So I'm going to ask you one thing.
Until midnight.
Yeah. I mean, we've been going for 2 already. So I'm going to ask you something that I'm going to start asking everyone. What are like the 3 resources you would recommend for anyone looking to get into business or to try and, you know, systemize and automate their business to the point where they're more effective?
Oh God, I've never been asked this question before. A good email service. So either, I mean, I don't personally like MailChimp, but it is the cheapest option.
Yeah, I'm a fan of MailerLite, but yeah.
Yeah, I use ActiveCampaign. So I personally like those because of the way you can automate things and you can make everything really streamlined. So I definitely think that, because once you build an audience, you should retain an audience. Second would be a platform called Bonsai, which is a invoicing and tax accounts. I think it's only like $15 a month. Nice. And literally you just put everything in, and at the end of the year you can export it all and it has it all there for you, and it's great. It's just all in one platform. And then like you said, like with Slack, something like Slack, because I didn't start using it, and considering I've been doing this for a while, I didn't start using it until I think it was the back end of last year. And honestly, with the few contractors, few freelancers that I do use, it has made my life so much easier.
Yeah, I do love Slack.
It doesn't have to be like this all the time.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can get the Slack app, which I do have on my phone. Another one that I've really found useful and I've sort of introduced other people to is ClickUp. It's a fantastic way of tracking like any tasks and stuff that you need, but you can also create a workflow in there. I know before I started using HubSpot for my it's a bit like Pipedrive, my tracking my leads. You can use it for the same thing. You can set it up in the same way, create tickets, create updates, reminders, all that sort of stuff. So, and that's free actually until you start adding team members in there. So I would advise looking at ClickUp.
I was going to say, I'm going to take note of that and I will definitely look into it.
I use it for like all of the tasks, like, because like I said, I'm very pen and paper, and I use it to track like everything that's not on my daily sort of tasks list. So things that I want to do for the business in terms of like, I don't know, my mailing list, any ideas I want to do for that. And like I said, I did all of my leads on there, so you can set each column up and move it through the sales funnel as you go. And yeah, it's fantastic. It really is.
Yeah, no, cool. Like that's awesome. I mean, that would help me out a lot. I also have one that's called To-Do List. Is that?
Yes, I heard of that. I haven't used it, but I have heard of it.
I use that because you can get it on your phone, and I first started using it on my phone, and then you could get a desktop app. But the worst thing that I do,
you can use it desktop and app.
Yeah, the worst thing that I do is I put down all of these things that need to be done, and then it suddenly like shouts at me. Like, you said you were going to do this 20 minutes ago, and I'm like, dude, I was a different person 20 minutes ago.
To be fair, we all need a little shouting at sometimes, depending on what it is.
True, very true.
All right. Well, Emily, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Hopefully we'll catch up again because obviously we're good friends and we have a lot to talk about. But yeah, do you want to tell people your social media, where they can find you and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to contact me directly, the best way is Instagram. So that is Emily E. Topping. Other than that, little like plug in there. Check out emergeelite.co.uk if you want some cool fitness clothes.
Awesome.
And yeah, and I've got books. So if you want to go to emilytopping.co.uk, I have books that you can buy as well. Because obviously I am multi-dimensional.
You're a multitasker at its finest.
I am.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you very much, and we'll catch up soon.
All right. Thank you very much for having me.
No worries. Cheers.